Welcome to Knowing Jesus Deep Dive number 22. Brad here, joined by Pastor Terry again. So he had the week off last week. JJ joined us for Deep Dive. Doesn't mean Terry wasn't preaching. You were out at St.
I was
Charles
at
campus.
St. Charles. I was going through that passage. It's a fantastic passage. So
Yes.
I'm glad at least I got to dig deep and dive deep into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just disclaimer, if you're watching this back to back with last week's Deep Dive, yes, I am wearing the exact same thing, recording two of these in one day. We try to record these on Tuesday, the week before, and then have them ready to go for the week of. Doesn't always work every week because of different schedules, availability and whatnot. So yes, I don't just wear the same thing every week on the same day, is what it is. But today we are looking at Luke chapter 9. And so we're kind of in this journey. Jesus has now his eyes towards the cross. He's talking about suffering. He's talking about dying. He's had these moments where he's trying to show his disciples and help them understand what is to come, because they're still have this big idea that the movement that he is doing is a political one, and that he is going to be this Messiah that they have dreamt about, leading an uprising against Rome and Jerusalem. And so that's kind of where we are. So Terry, this passage, man, like what, just when you think about it, and it's kind of a longer passage, so we're not going to go verse by verse, but like, what are a couple things that jump out at you, that stick out to you, just kind of context wise?
Well, first, it's a real pivotal passage, and it's one of those moments in the Gospels that really do make a difference and change everything. And I think, we're, as we go through the life, looking at the transfiguration, I think a lot hinges on the transfiguration. It's a moment that reminds us who Jesus is, the glory he has, fully God, fully man, and a time to really see that and understand that. And Jesus keeps talking about his death, and people don't get it, and they kind of want to deny it, but he knows it. And he makes this resolute commitment. He turns his face towards Jerusalem. And, obviously it doesn't say and towards the cross, but everybody knows in the story, this is what he's doing. He's making his way there. It's where it's going. 6 months left to live. And, that's kind of part of what we're thinking about. What if you just had 6 months? What would you do? What would you be committed to? What would you want to accomplish and do? And, as we've said, nothing really happens without commitment. And we live in a world that's kind of open. Does Facebook, are you coming? You have a Facebook event. Are you going to be there? Are you not? Or are you unsure? And almost every time someone posts a Facebook event, it's the unsures who are the most numerous. People fear missing out. They want to keep all their options open. And they want to see, are others committed, and what are others going to do? And Jesus, he really calls us to a commitment. What are we committed to in this life? Are we committed to him or not? Are we committed to the gospel? Are we committed to the mission? And he sets his face knowing what's going to be there. And he invites us to do that. And he invites us to follow a penniless, homeless, rejected criminal in our, what are we committed to? And, as Jesus makes this commitment, he's going to immediately make people who have commitment issues. And what are we going to live by our commitment issues or live by commitment?
Well, that's good. That's a good question. It's a convicting question, right?
It's a very convicting. I think, it's the passage that are we a Christian? Are we a follower of Jesus? Because we want a little bit more information. We want to be just a little better person. Or are we fully engaged in the kingdom of God and what that is for us? And are we living a kingdom life? And are we living in the power of the kingdom? I think that's why the transfiguration is so important. That reminds us that Christ's kingdom, the king, is a powerful king, and he invites us into a completely different kingdom. It's not like anything else. And we want to just, change our thinking a little bit or just act a little different. But as we've seen, you have to be born again to enter the kingdom. You have to be a completely different person. Our old way of life won't get you into the kingdom. And once you're in, are we in or are we out?
Yeah, that's great. So last week we looked at the transfiguration. We looked at this moment that, as I described it to JJ, I'm kind of like it's this like other world moment. Like I have categories to put like some of his other miracles, like when he feeds the 5,000. Like, yeah, I've never seen anyone make food out of
Right.
nothing, but I know what food tastes like. I know what it feels like to be hungry. I know what it feels like to feast and be satisfied. I can get that. But then you have this transfiguration moment where it's like, that's just not even something I think about because that's so other than what I experience.
Right. Right. And it's
It's
one of those passages where it's hard to preach on.
mhm,
It's hard to describe. It's hard to get your mind around. You know that Jesus fully glorified. David writes, in Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God,
mhm.
like a beautiful starry night. That's a picture. Like, and it's hard to kind of wrap our mind around that in Jesus. And it hit me this time as we were looking at it, this otherworldly aspect of Jesus. And the Father just says one thing. The Father says, are you going to listen to him or not? Just listen to him. This is my son. Listen
Yeah.
to him. Like, it's everything, but it comes down to, look, are you going to listen to him? And I think this plays into the end of chapter 9 in the kingdom. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because we can say, yeah, I'm going to listen. I'm going to hear Jesus. And all these people hear Jesus, know he's coming. They're like, yeah, we're not really going to listen like that.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? Because, and again, this is something I was just floored with last week when we were talking about it. But like, that you have this moment, you have his three closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, who are with him. They see him transfigured. They see Moses. They see Elijah, and none of that really phases them. Peter's like, "Oh, should we,
Yeah,
prepare some
yeah,
tents for you? Like, this is great." And then it's when they even see the bright cloud. It's when they hear the voice of God speaking to them that they become terrified, that they go face down.
yeah.
And then as Luke 9 goes, you have this argument that James and John, like who's going to be greatest? And
Right.
it's like, you guys have just witnessed and been in this. Now, granted, again, we don't want to be too
That
hard
may
on
play
them.
into their thinking. It's like, ooh, we got to see this. There's something
Yeah.
for us. And then
Yeah.
they come in again at the end as this passage continues when they go through Samaria because they want to call down fire from heaven now. They're pretty big cheese at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So we're in chapter 9, starting in verse
51.
50, 51. So this is after James and John. They have this argument who is the greatest. Then they go to a Samaritan village, and this is kind of where I was pointing to, that is that like maybe this is why they think they can call down fire, right? Because they've witnessed Jesus
Right.
in that moment. But so anyway, Jesus he sets his face to go to Jerusalem. So he is on this path now,
Right.
almost like I think of like Lord of the Rings, like when Frodo is getting ready. He's on the path. He's started the trip. It seems like when you go on vacation, everything builds up to just that moment when you can actually like leave. And the second you get in the car and you get on the road, like it's started. You can't. Okay, now it's the thing. You're not there yet, but you're going.
And this is, Isaiah's given us a glimpse of this. I think this harkens back to Isaiah chapter 50, which gives some verses, some promises,
Mhm.
prophecies about who the Messiah is. Excuse me. And Isaiah says, I offer my back to those who beat me, like he's going to the cross, my cheeks to those who pulled up my beard. Do not hide my face from mocking and spitting. I mean, all that happened to Jesus on the cross because the sovereign Lord helps me. I will not be disgraced.
Mhm.
Therefore, I've set my face like flint, and I know I will not be put to shame. And, there's this kind of comparison. Jesus set his face towards Jerusalem, kind of paralleling Isaiah 50, verse 7. He set his face like flint. And it's kind of a challenging question. What do we set our face toward? What is it that we know we need to do? We've got to accomplish. We're not going to be distracted. And Jesus invites us into this kingdom and to follow him. And that's a powerful picture. Set your face like flint. Are you willing to do whatever needs to be done, that commitment to accomplish it?
Yeah, and that's an interesting turn of phrase, because kind of what happens in this moment is the people of in this Samaritan village, they reject Jesus. Like when he
Right.
comes through, and the reason they cite is that they say they did not receive him because his face was set toward
Right.
Jerusalem. Can you speak about that a little bit? Like
Yeah, I
what's
mean, we talked some about that he's, passing through, he's taking the shortcut. Although Jesus has, a love for the Samaritans. We've seen that before. This is not the first time. He seems to always choose
yeah.
to go through. He went there early on in his ministry to meet the Samaritan woman. But he was not coming to validate them. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to Jerusalem. He's validating Jerusalem. And there's, this back and forth between the Samaritans and the Jews. And I think they're like, hey, Jesus, if you're coming, we love you, but we want you to validate us. We want you to say our traditions are great. And Jesus came to bring new traditions.
Mm.
So they don't want him. Like I'm thinking, man, they could make some money. They're going, they're probably going to get some money. They're choosing, kind of their preference over Jesus. And the disciples are pretty ticked. It's like, hey, wait a minute, Jesus is coming. He might throw in a miracle or two for you. But because Motel 6 is full and not going to accept him, these two who have seen Elijah, which probably reminds them, says, hey, we want to call down fire for heaven, because Elijah and Elisha back in the time of the kings did the same, called down fire.
Yeah.
They're like, well, which I'm like, man, you guys think pretty, like, you think you can do that? Like, you've just seen Elijah, Moses, and Jesus. So I don't think I could call down fire from heaven. And I'm standing next to the guy who can.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, hey, Jesus, you want us? Like, well, we'll try. We'll do it so you don't have to. And Jesus here, like, no, 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 because he's going to experience the judgment of heaven on the cross in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So these Samaritans can experience God's grace. And these guys in the months to follow are going to go back. And, Jesus, at the end of Matthew, so, 6 months and 40 days, is going to say to them, go into all the world, preach the gospel, make disciples,
Mm-hmm.
be my witnesses, Judea, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and even to the ends of the earth. Like, I want you to
Mm-hmm.
go back. Like, this is grace. I think this is why we have to remember the kingdom is so different, that we want a
Yeah.
Christianity that's just a tweak of our culture. And I think
Yeah.
that's our challenge. We want, if we could just be Christians, we'll, be a little better. We want a little more knowledge, a little, more
Yeah.
character, a little more of this. This is a revolutionary kingdom of grace and surrender, and forgiveness. Like, and this is what Jesus is saying, like, the kingdom, like, no, 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 you just don't come into the kingdom calling down fire from heaven and living that way. It's an upside down kingdom where we give our lives for those who
Yeah.
even abuse us.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and they still don't get it, right? And again,
no,
I don't want to be too harsh on them, because when we read these stories, like, those are the people we should be identifying with, right? Like,
right,
because we're
right,
the ones who Jesus is pouring into. We're the ones that Jesus cares about, who we say he is. We're the ones that he is going to prepare and send out. Like, we're the disciples. We don't get it. And so James and John and Peter, like, they, in the transfiguration moment, even one of the things as I was studying, kind of reading up and praying for last week, I was kind of looking at how the appearance of Moses and Elijah would have taken this, based on things, said in the Old Testament, as, okay, it's game time. Like,
right,
war's
right,
coming. This is the age, the messianic age is about to be inaugurated, and their understanding of who the Messiah is going to be this political leader who is going to lead an uprising, who is going to subvert the authority of Rome, who is going to be the people's champion. And Jesus is very concerned. Like, he actually says, don't tell anyone about the
right,
transfiguration, because he knows that the way to truly bring heaven to earth isn't to just reveal his glory on a mountain and stay there in a tent. His way of bringing heaven to earth is through a cross. It's through suffering. It's through dying. And he has a mission. He has an intention. He's not going to be moved from that. And so you continue to get these little traces from even his closest followers of, like, hey, let's send down fire, right? Because he's like, no, 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 that's not the plan. It's like, that's not it. and it's that constant reminder that even goes back to the transfer, like, listen to
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
I think you see this again. I'm big on just following Jesus' life. Jesus, and we haven't spent as much time as we could, but Jesus' frustration with the Pharisees and the legalism and everything that's there, that he's
Hmm.
very critical of them. Now his criticism, if you notice, begins to move a little bit more to his disciples. He's been with them a couple, 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
He shared with them, as we saw a couple weeks ago, the feeding of the 4,000, like he's saying, do you still not get it? Like, come on. He walks away from the Pharisees, like, I'm not going to give you a sign. He's frustrated. He says to them no, we're not going to build a booth. He says, we're not going to call down fire from heaven. And you hear Jesus, his immense grace for people who don't know, who don't have the knowledge. And I think sometimes that's our challenge as Christians. We look at the world and we are mad and angry at people who don't know. Like we
Mhm.
like no, they don't know God's
Yeah.
word. They don't have a relationship. Like, we're not going to call down fire and cancel them and get all irritated.
Hmm.
We're the ones who know. We need to share with them. Like, Jesus is like, you need to know I'm going to experience the judgment you want to call down on them, and you got to go and tell them there's grace. And I think we're, in our cancel culture world, we want to cancel everybody who doesn't believe like we do. And it's like, we just got to get rid of it. Call down
Yeah.
fire from heaven. It's like, no. Jesus is like, I'm not calling down fire from heaven. They don't know. I'm
Yeah.
asking you, are you committed enough to go into difficult territory and share the grace that they are going to receive mercy? They're not going to get the fire from heaven because Jesus took it for us. Who's going to
Yeah.
share that message with them? And are we committed to that or not?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. It's it's humbling for sure.
Yeah, well,
Um,
most of us don't want to. No, no, like I want a nice suburban church. We want a nice suburban Christianity. We want some nice programs, some nice music. We want something to help me be a little better person. We don't want. Are we really going to do that? Are we
yeah.
really going to share the good news of the kingdom, that we have an upside down kingdom that's so radically different? It's a kingdom
Yeah.
of grace and mercy and sacrifice and surrender. And are we going to set our face like flint to do what needs to be done to share with an unredeemed world the power of what Jesus has done? And
Hmm.
because, we want a nice church, our world doesn't get the gospel like they should.
Hmm.
There,
Man, that'll
my
preach.
preaching. That's my
That's it.
preaching
That
for that.
that'll preach. That'll
Yeah.
preach. Well, especially in this age of, like, I mean, not to go full political, right? But like the cultural moment that we're in, and the places the places that we place our hope, even these different political figures that we look to we ask them to be something that they can't be, and Jesus, like the mission and the resolve. It's. I was reading something earlier today, and they kind of said, like, we need to take ourselves less seriously and the gospel more seriously. Um, so which kind of leads us into this next section of
Yeah.
this, verses 57 and following. You have them walking on the road, walking on the way. You have these different people who, again, you imagine the scene. Does he have a larger crowd that's following with him? Or are they just encountering other travelers? Are the disciples,
Yeah.
asking because they're still gauging their own commitment or buy-in, maybe?
And I
Um,
think this is a large, Jesus, he's sending an advanced team into Samaria to get things ready. In the beginning of chapter 10, he sends 72 out. So there's a large group, some white people who are following and obviously somewhat committed to him. And so I'm assuming he's meeting people, preaching, and he's inviting others to follow him, and some jump up. And these are the people like we would love to have every weekend. It's like, hey, I'm with where can I serve? What can I do? What do I want? And there's two types of followers that Jesus kind of meets here. There's the first guy is kind of optimistic. It's like, hey, I'm going to do anything. I'm in there, Jesus. And Jesus like, but do you really know what you're signing up for? And, he's so optimistic and excited about the kingdom, but not understanding the sacrifice. And Jesus is like,
Mhm.
okay, you're going to follow the penniless, homeless criminal. Are you willing to do that? I got nothing to give you. There's nothing. And, he's kind of the, the anti-mega church leader at this point, who's like, okay, look, if you're really going to follow, it's going to take a lot. Like, this is not, God's got, you're going to be healthy, wealthy, wise, everything. Like,
Mhm.
this is a real commitment. I'm setting my face to Jerusalem, knowing what's going to come, and are willing to do it. And
Mhm.
Jesus has just come from the transfiguration, the Mount of Transfiguration. He's now going to Mount of Calvary. He was, between Moses and Elijah in the Mount of Transfiguration. He's, between two thieves on Calvary. The father said, hey, this is my son. On Calvary, the father's going to abandon him.
Mhm.
Peter wants to build a temple or a booth on Transfiguration. Here, Peter runs and
Mhm.
hides. And she's like, I'm going here. Do you know what it's going to take? And that's are we willing? Jesus invites us to something. It's so good. It's so utterly and
Yeah.
worldly. Um, and
Yeah,
then
it's
he
that.
meets these two people who want to, well, can I wait? I've got an excuse. Let me wait. Let me just look after something. And Jesus is like, they're too realistic. And it's like, but do you know the greatness of the kingdom? Like,
Mhm.
if you knew what it was, you were giving an excuse for it. You'd never give an excuse. You
Mhm.
know who that really
Mhm.
is. So
Yeah, and these are I mean, we would say these are valid. Like, these are. It's not like they're saying, "Hey, I've got a TV show I need to finish." Like, it's like, "Hey, can
yeah,
I
well,
bury
bury my father, which
can I
was
bury
the
my
most
father?"
honorable thing,
Yeah.
right, to do in that culture. Like, you want a good son, honor your father and mother. It's a dutiful, very significant, important thing. It's the duty of a child to do that. But Jesus, like,
Yeah.
but there's an urgency to it too.
Yeah, and and when you were talking, it kind of made me think about Christopher Nolan's Batman. Um, I don't remember if it's in Batman Begins or Dark Knight. Michael Caine's character, I think it's Michael Caine's character, describing Batman as not the hero we want, but the hero that Gotham needs.
Right.
And I think we see that in Jesus a lot. He's the Christ that people don't want. He's the Christ that we need, though, and following him is going to require things that aren't comfortable. I think that's that first guy who, when Jesus replies, "Hey, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Like, hey, follow me, but it's not gonna be comfortable. Like, you're not,
Right.
you don't follow me just to a palace. Like, you follow, actually, truly follow me. And this we're gonna get this in a couple of weeks when he talks about him paving the way and the disciples following. It's like, hey, a lot of you are gonna die. Right, like, you're gonna die because of me. Like, it's gonna, and I think for us in our context, North American Christianity, it's easy to say, yep, I'm a Christian. It's easy to say, yep, I'm going to go to church, or I'm going to listen to this podcast, or I'm going to sing this song. It makes me feel good. We have it easy. Like, and that's something, like, we have it easy, and yet the call is still great. And so I love that last line where he brings it back to the kingdom of God. Like, we have to be forward thinking,
Right.
forward moving people.
And I think again, that's why, Peter, James, and John, obviously an inner circle for Jesus, but they get to see the transfiguration because James, one of the first martyrs of the church, Peter is, crucified upside down. John on the Isle of Patmos, tradition says they tried to boil him in oil and couldn't do that. That they experienced horrific things for the cause of the kingdom. And all
Yeah.
that they had was this picture of, okay, but I've got a glorious king. I mean, I know what's coming. I can see it. I can taste it. And I think that's, on into chapter 10, Jesus
Mhm.
sends the 72 out, and they come back like so excited of the kingdom things that they get to offer and what they have experienced. And we don't, because we don't set our face like flint, because we don't
Mhm.
commit to the mission, we miss the joy, and we wonder, is it really worth it? And once you commit and see what Jesus can do, it's like so powerful.
Hmm.
You don't want to miss being used by God.
Hmm. That's so good. Um, Is there anything else that sticks out to you when you think when this passage, a word, a phrase, a thought, a theme?
I think again, it's just the challenge. What have we set our face towards? What are we willing to do? Jesus, 180 days, 6 months left to live. What would make a difference? What would we want if we knew we had 180 days and we were going to see Jesus? What would we do differently? What would we say differently? How would we influence people differently? And I think in that culture, they probably understood the brevity of life more than what we do. And we take every long, long, long life for granted. And, I, I think we forget that any of us, the next 6 months are not guaranteed. And what are we willing to do in order to stand in front of the Father and be, uh, to be ready to stand before him and hear what he has to say to
Mhm.
us. So I think that's it. What are we really committed to? And I think I'm guilty. It's an everyday battle. I'm committed to me. I'm committed to my king. I'm committed to my
Yeah,
comfort. I'm committed to keeping my own little life. And Jesus keeps saying, but it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about
yeah,
his kingdom.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good, and we just see the call to follow, the call to worship God is always something that's we need to take seriously. Throughout the Old Testament, we see that, but with Jesus, I think there's a callback here in the end of chapter 9. Like Elijah permits Elisha to say farewell, and yet
Right.
Jesus here in the kingdom of God, it's no, this takes precedence over everything
Right.
else.
But he burns the plow and eats the oxen. Like he in the process, he's not going
Yeah,
back. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
he's like, I'm going back, but I'm making sure that I can't,
mhm,
I can't
yeah,
go back.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for just tuning in to our deep dive. If you want to catch up on previous week's deep dives, you can do that. You can find that on our website, calvary.church/knowing Jesus. We have them on our YouTube channel as well. Just search Calvary Online or Calvary Church. Subscribe, while you're there. That will allow you to get the most updated, relevant content directly to you. You'll get a notification. And it's been a joy just continuing to journey through the life of Jesus. And over these next, we're just over halfway through our series, and yet we've got just 6 months.
6 months left. And that's what most of the scripture, a significant amount of the gospels are the last 6 months and the last week. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so much happens in light of Jesus going, my time is short.
Yep.
So,
So anyway, look forward to connecting with you throughout this week. If there's anything that stuck out to you, I'd invite you to tag us on social media. You can use hashtag KnowingJesusCC or tag at Calvary Online. If you have a question for Pastor Terry that you'd like to see him answer as you were thinking, we'll even go back to previous weeks. Feel free to shoot him an email. Sanderson at calvary.church, or a message on Facebook, message us, message at Calvary Online. We'd love to interact and just kind of look at some of that. So hope you have a great week. We are praying for you. We love you, and we will catch you again next time.
great. Take care.